Processing the pain of parenting a prodigal is probably one of the hardest things anyone's going to do. Now, we have lots of YouTubes on various topics. If you've yet to subscribe, please do that. Or if you have a question about this topic or any of the other ones, please put your question in the box. We'll get to that as soon as possible. We'd love to hear from you. But this is a very important topic, and I've seen so many friends of mine, and you have friends, and you were probably a person who has a prodigal. And this is a secret process for many people, and that's the first thing I would say is don't do it in secret. Don't keep the fact that you have a prodigal between just your spouse and yourself. This is something you're going to want to share the burden with, because if you have a prodigal, your children have your heart in such a powerful way. And the first step in processing your pain is to acknowledge that you have pain, that you have hurt, that you have disappointments, that you have anger, that you have false guilt, because it's not your fault that they're prodigals. That's their own decision to be a prodigal. Prodigal is an individual decision, not a parenting decision or a result of good or bad parenting. Plenty of bad parents have incredibly good Christians, and a lot of Christian parents have really incredibly bad prodigals, okay? So parenting's not the factor. But you're going to have your feelings, you're going to grieve, and you're going to feel anger, you're going to feel sadness, you're going to feel sorrow, you're going to bargain like, well, if I did this or my spouse did this, you're going to go through this. My first thing is do not go through this alone. You know, if you get the Parent Prodigal book, a video, a workbook, work through that, that's fantastic. Start a group in your home, start a group in your church. If there is one, go join our online Facebook group. Do not go through this alone. Reach out to people of the same gender, or if you're a couple with other couples, that's fine. And just share what's going on. Share when you've been lied to, when your children's asking for money, or when they're slandering you or misrepresenting your family and all that kind of stuff. Having a safe place to share this is really one of the most important things. So, don't do this in secret. Don't do this alone. Don't do this unintelligently. When I started the process on the Parent Prodigal process, I realized there's nothing out there for parents. And so there's no way to even do this process intelligently prior to this. You would just be doing your best, pray for me and get through it and cry and scream and be angry at God, be angry at your spouse. You have no intelligent way of doing that. Well, now you do. The workbook and the DVD gives you an intelligent process to process the anger, process your grief, be able to set boundaries with your prodigal, maybe understand more of how they got there. There's a whole chapter on the secrets that prodigals often have. And it gives you a lot more intelligent approach to doing this. Now, another thing I would say is lower your expectations on how wonderful you're going to go through this process, okay? And your spouse, understand your spouse is not themselves. They're in grief and pain, and even if they're the guy who's holding it all in and being tough, he's hurting if his son or daughter is out there doing crazy stuff. He's in pain. She's in pain. This is her child, okay, and had a lot of dreams for this child. You both did. And so you're both in pain. So lower your expectation. Okay, you're not going to go through this perfect. You're going to have burps and bumps, and that's normal. What you want to do is ask forgiveness, be responsible when your behavior is not exactly in line with what is best, and be able to extend that grace to your spouse. Pray together all the time for your prodigal, that's fine. But do be patient with each other and be patient with you. Lastly, I would say, be patient with your children that are not prodigals. Oftentimes they go through another layer of pain, watching the pain that the prodigal causes in your heart, in your life, when you're not yourself, when you are crying unexplainedly, when the prodigal embarrasses you, humiliates you in a family event. They hear the lies or the slander that your prodigal is telling to make them feel good about themselves. And they watch your pain as well as their own pain of not having a brother or a sister, having that person really feel like part of the family. And so be patient with them, and definitely go through that chapter on the older brother thing, because your younger, the other children are going to have kind of more of a conditional response, as far as like, okay, let's just see what's happening here. When you behave consistently over a period of time, then I will trust you. So don't expect them to like forgive and be excited and happy. That's not normal. It'd be unwise in any other situation where someone just says, I'm sorry, forget about everything they've done and move forward. Okay, it's not rational to expect that of them. So don't do this alone. Okay, share the burden of this. Lower your expectations with yourself, your spouse, and your children. Be patient with them in the process. Okay, and I would say make sure you stay focused on the ones that are not prodigals, encouraging them, nurturing them, celebrating them. Make sure that you're not losing contact with that, because sometimes the children, they have some feelings about how much attention this black sheep gets, how much extra money and time and resources and all of that they get because they're doing all this bad stuff. And yet here I am really serving God and loving you and being faithful to God and to you, and I feel alone and neglected. Don't let that happen. Be really intentional about fostering positive praise and nurturing relationships with your children that are not prodigals as you go through the parent prodigal process. Okay? So hopefully this is helpful. Please get the materials. Please start a group. We have groups all over the world now, because people like you have said, you know what? I don't know of a group. I can open my home. I can talk to my pastor. We can have it at church. We just got an email lately. A lady put a little blurb in the bulletin. She had 40 couples show up the first night. This is a big deal in every church. And so I know that you're hurting, but if you're alone and you don't know that there's a group, go start one. Or ask your pastor if he knows someone who is in leadership, who's had a prodigal, who could do this. We need to have this in every single church in the world, so that parents can go in their ministry, have integrity, feel good about themselves, and know that they are not to blame. And when you have a team praying for you and praying for your child, that's way more powerful than doing it by yourselves. And when that child comes back, they come back to the whole team, and the whole team rejoices. So I would definitely encourage you to get outside of your pain and to bring some other people in the process and cry with them and laugh with them and encourage them as well. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Again, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. There's so much information out there. And if you have a question, put it there. And until next time, have a really good day.